Welcome back, everybody, to Running the Rifts coverage of the NACL Open qualifiers. We are coming into round 3. My name is Gordo. I am joined by Quacks for day number 2, and we continue to cover Aporia as the competition heats up. Lotus, the seed number 7 team, now taking on seed number 3 Aporia. Winner of this will lock themselves top 16, Quacks.
Yeah, there's a lot riding in on this game, like you said, Gordo. A chance at salvation, being able to rest up while the other teams struggle and fight to get into that top 16 spot. Going 3-0 just gives you so much time to rest. So I think not only is getting there, on these players' minds, but also just getting there and being able to spectate or being able to watch the rest of the competition, make plans, rest up, eat healthy, get some sleep for crying out loud. And when they come back, they'll be stronger than ever. So yeah, I think that Aporia and Lotus both really just looking to win this game as fast as possible, as convincingly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely here. I mean, would be a very big deal to be able to get up into that 3-0 bracket. That's going to be guaranteeing you a super competitive matchup, and that is going to put you on a lot of people's radars as one of the teams that's going to be a big threat coming into that top 16 stage. And this is going to be the biggest and most dangerous opponent that either of these teams have had to play off against yet, right? Being a top 16 seed, being a top 8 seed even, winning your first 2 rounds, you're not going to get faced with the highest seeded competition quite yet. This third round is where you're really going to start to face some of your true peers in the top echelon of competition in this event. We're going to have to see who's going to be able to come out on top here. Lotus going to lead things off with the Emilio lock-in, clearly signaling that they would like to go for one of those Lucian lanes. I do wonder if Aporia wants to just go Lucian Nami here and deny that option.
Yeah, Lucian Nami was an idea that I had as well, but I also think there is the potential to go Lucian with the potential engage support. I've seen a lot of Lucian Nautilus as well, but it looks like Aporia might just be pivoting toward the Caitlyn, trying to go for more of a poke-oriented lane, deny that constant trading that Milio Lucian like to do, but they're actually just going to go for the Rumble on Band. This is one of the more broken characters in the game right now. Synergizes so well with those mage items added in Season 14. Not only that, but he can be a flex as well. You could potentially put this jungle if you're Aporia.
Definitely here. That's going to be an interesting one to see come across. They are going to lock in the Caitlyn, so they're going to look to outrange that potential Lucian duo if it does come through. The Caitlyn, in its own right, can also be a very powerful duo alongside that Melio, so going to be a wise decision to take that away here. Lotus going to hover and lock on in that Aatrox for Porsche. This is going to be Porsche's third Aatrox game in a row in this event. He is loving that champion in the top lane, and seeing the Rumble face off from Lawrence, he is plenty happy to lock it in.
Yeah, I mean, Aatrox works so well with Sundered Sky, one of the better items that came out of this new season. So it's no surprise to see that Lotus are just playing for Porsche's comfort pick and a character that has been taking the new season by storm. But they're also going to lock in Ophelio, so no Lucian this game, despite what our thoughts were, Gordo. Now it's up to Aporia to respond. They may be looking for a Lux. Yeah, just continuing with this poke lane, continuing with that lockdown as well, could really guarantee some of those Caitlyn traps on these immobile targets like Milio and Aphelios in the bot lane.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, they don't want to opt in to Lucian and be the lower range of the 2 aggressive kill-focused bottom lanes. So instead, they are going to opt back into scaling and trust that, Melio's still going to be plenty valuable in the late game. That extra cleanse, once the ulti's available, can also give you a little bit of a safety barrier against getting caught out by one of those light bindings, getting that one free pass. He may opt into the cleanse in the bottom lane for Forsen to make sure that they are going to have that additional layer. Forsen, of course, formerly known as Psycho, going in with a name change in this new season. Very tenured 80 carry at the kind of mid to top level of the amateur scene, and looking to take another big step up here with this stacked Lotus team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this Lotus team has a decent amount of frontline here, but I have to imagine that both of these teams have to have the Akali on their mind, especially Aporia. You do not yet have a frontliner to go, and if this is going to be a Rumble top, then you're basically forcing music to go onto something like the Sejuani. So banning out that assassin is going to be incredibly important to do, but it looks like they are just going to leave it unbanned. Akali maybe open after this ban phase, one of the better mid laners here in this season. I cannot imagine you leave this character open.
Yeah, I would be very surprised to see that as well. I don't think either of these guys are huge Akali guys. I really do think of Aljun as
Mhm.
a little bit more of a mage guy. Samikin, of course, famously a former Zoe one trick, probably a little frustrated in his chair right now seeing that Zoe ban, though. Maybe a
Yeah.
mix of pride and frustration. This guy is tired of that label. He's got not a Zoe one trick in his Twitter bio. He does not like to be referred to that way. He hit rank 1 playing a variety of champions, and he's really expanded that pool over the course of this last year, especially. That's what's put him on a lot of teams' radars as one of these really highly prized mid laners coming into this season, doing so well in tryouts during the offseason and earning himself a spot on this top 3 seeded Aporia team. Going to save him. Last pick here are Aporia, locking in the Vi in the jungle. A classic for music as Lotus now have to get themselves their own jungler, and they have to blind something for Aljun here.
Yeah, I mean, this Xin Zhao that they're most likely going to lock in provides so much value with not only being able to get into the back line, but mitigate so much damage. Aporia has really been going hard on this poke, having the equalizer plus the Caitlyn and Lux. None of that is going to hit you. And with the combination of Twisted Fate, this is an amazing mid-jungle duo I can see really running over Aporia if they aren't careful, if they don't try to mitigate the effects of this Twisted Fate's roams and being able to go with Xin Zhao wherever he pleases.
Yeah, the Samikin Oriana would be a classic here. He's looking at the Nico as well, if that is the option that he decides he wants to go with. Does look like that's going to be locked in. So going to be matching some roam power with some roam power, trusting that he'll have a little bit of additional wave clear on this Nico as well to try to
Mm-hmm.
keep this Twisted Fate on the back foot. Going to be an interesting matchup about really who can get the shove in mid lane, as both are definitely going to be looking to get themselves out and onto the map for what is going to very possibly be a very bot lane centric game. This Caitlyn Lux duo, every time you see it, you know that that's where both junglers feel like they need to head. So they want to be getting it ahead on Aporia's side, and they really want to be defending up against that aggression and that push on the Lotus side.
And I think that having this Caitlyn Lux lane, having so much shove just built into your kits is going to give Music and Samikin just the ability to continue on roaming, just get tracking on where this Xin Zhao is at all times, because that's really what you want to mitigate in this Xin Zhao is going to be his early game ability to get those ganks off. And so if you're having constant shove in the bot lane, it should be easier. It should be pretty easy to do, but we'll have to wait and see how Lotus decides to respond in that bot side, because that's where I'll be looking, I think, for a majority of this game. It seems like that's where both teams are indexing their powers into.
It does seem that way. We're going to have to see who is going to end up coming out on top, if that's going to be the style here. And then very curious to see what the top lane matchup between Porsche and Lawrence is going to look like. Both of these guys been around the top lane scene for a long time. Lawrence, having spent some time on Cloud9 Amateur, really been one of those staple top lane players just outside of the NACL level for a long time, even
Mhm.
subbed in an NACL for a short bit of time. Porsche, on the other side, similarly has kind of been on the outside looking in, but has had so much success at the collegiate level, especially, and now a 2 times CLOL champion, and was so close to that promotion last split with Team Ambition, like you referenced earlier, Quacks. Will
Mhm.
definitely be looking to make that step up here and seeing if he can get himself up to that T2 level alongside the rest of this squad.
And I think that this is Lawrence's opportunity to really get on that sort of level of play that Porsche has been propped up to for quite some time since his days on Team Ambition. Lawrence, since his time on Cloud9 Academy, has really been bouncing from team to team, really looking for his footing and never really quite been able to find it. Has struggled a little bit in really trying to break out in terms of results and stats there. But I think that this is a really solid team that he has here now. Music and Samikin, these are two players that are incredibly storied in the tier 2, tier 3 scene, and who I think you can reliably have to be on your team. At the same time, you have a character and a player like Rovex, who is another veteran of the tier 2 scene who's been around for a really long time. So this is definitely going to be a squad I think Lawrence is happy with to try and match that sort of idol level that Porsche's been at for so long in the scene.
Yeah, these are the kind of constructions on teams like Aporia that I really love. when
Hmm.
I'm looking over for teams that are going to try to make a run to NACL, that really have the promotion tournament in mind when they're constructing
Yeah.
their rosters. I think Lotus is similar to that, but to a lesser degree as well. But for Aporia especially, right, you've got those veteran pieces who have been there before, who you can trust to be able to play at a high enough level to top tier 3 in Music and Lynx and Rovex. But then you also do need to be able to look for players like Samikin who maybe a little bit undiscovered, right? Maybe have that ceiling to where they could be at that tier 2 level, but have not yet
Yeah.
exactly been able to prove it. Just because it's often so difficult to build a tier 3 roster that is 100% pound for pound a T2 level players for sure. You got to take some degree of risk. All the best players, all of the known tier 2 entities, or at least most of them, they're going to get snatched up by tier 2 teams. So you're going to have to take a couple of risks here and there to be able to make it into that promotion level. Lotus taking a similar approach as well. I think Porsche and Frost have so much pedigree behind them. Forsen has got a
Yeah.
lot of experience in this scene as well, but they've got to put some eggs in those Aojun and Mixture baskets as both of these players look to take themselves to the next level and take this team to the next level along with them.
Yeah, I mean, before we started the stream, you and I, Gordo, you gave me a little bit of a history lesson on Ao Jun, and just that he is a relatively new player, but kind of gotten the short end of the stick in terms of rosters recently. But I think if you look at the team that he has been backed up by, if you look at the players that he has been backed up by, Psycho, Frost Force, Porsche, again, this is kind of another case of just building your roster around a mixture of veterans and newer talent. And I think that is something that Lotus, if they can execute it on it properly, this roster can take them really far. If they can get the 3-0, I can imagine they can go much further than that, much further than just the top 16.
Yeah, I do love to highlight Aojun like that a little bit here as well. I think Aojun showed up on a lot of players' radars, a lot of people's radars on that
Hmm.
Cheese Chasers team last year that
Absolutely.
were able to make themselves a pretty solid run and get to top 16, which was very impressive for a squad that was pretty much all rookies at the time. But after they kind of separated and went their separate ways, it does seem like Aljun out of that squad is the one that has not been able to find himself on another team that was able to make that jump to the next level. His Baby Paradise squad were not able to make the jump up to the next level. Everybody else kind of moved on to Gentle Hearts, scooped being picked up very briefly for NACL, did not actually get to play any games, but was clearly viewed at that level. Barrick and Kryra moving back on to go to that Evil Geniuses Combine. These guys are all on really competitive teams this upcoming split, and it's really exciting to see Aojun kind of go up there and try to compete alongside them, as you never want to see a rookie have a really good showing on a largely rookie squad and then not really get to move past that and try to evolve further as a player. So seeing him back on another competitive team, back on a top 8 seed, that's very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with Frost Forest, who is in his own right a pretty facilitator heavy jungler, has even played things like the Nunu before, which I saw during my scouting and had a good little chuckle to myself. I think that you look at the combo of Xin Zhao Twisted Fate and you just immediately think of how much power this 2v2 combo has. So I expect a lot of movement in the mid lane, a lot of play around Ao Jun. And I think that this game could really be the sort of breakout game he could have playing against a player like Samikin to get himself on the map.
Definitely here. It will be very interesting to see this mid lane matchup between two players that have not really been able to make those deep runs in the NACL qualifiers before. Two players who, funny enough, both find themselves on top 3 teams now, but both ended up not even making top 16 just last split. So really getting themselves noticed in the offseason, getting themselves on stronger rosters, and trying to make that jump up to the next level off the back of it, as it does look like we are about ready to get into game here. Oh, we are going to hit a pause first, but the beauty of being on pre-recorded VODs is that we can still stream the pause. So we could all just hang out here in the pause. We got 2 whole starting items to look at, Quacks.
Yeah, I mean, amazing, right? I mean, I just love the Dorn's shield. There isn't a lot to talk about in terms of items, but I do think that we could pivot real quickly to some of the runes because there are some interesting rune choices just right out of the gate. I can see Music with the press the attack on Vi, so clearly signaling that he is going to want to go very aggressive in this early game as we are unpaused now here. But yeah, this Vi is probably just going to want to be unleashed early on. I wouldn't be surprised if Music just goes for a straight up 3-camp clear into looking for a gank.
Definitely, and you know, I just go right to the fact that there's 3 Arcane Comets on the side of Aporia right now. I mean, that's definitely a little bit of an interesting one to be checking out here, as they do really just emphasize that early game damage. They are looking to make sure that they can shove their opponents out of lane. That is, of course, going to be the strategy behind this R5 Nico that really made them decide, like, hey, we're going all in on this kind of pick team fight focused composition. But we also do need to make sure that we're not letting this Twisted Fate just run amok across the rest of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Really preventing this Twisted Fate from roaming down to that bot lane constantly is going to be the goal, as we see a little bit of tomfoolery here at level 1.
Absolutely. Porsche going to spot all 5 members here. The Lucent Singularity to try to get the slow. Rovek's not going to be able to slow Porsche enough to really get too much on the board, but they will successfully push back Porsche. They will be able to get some vision around this blue side. Vision going to be matched on the opposite there, as they did manage to go on over and throw down a ward. It looks like that was Frost who was able to put that one down.
Yep, so both teams trading just a little bit of vision. I think that that knowing where both of these junglers started is really crucial, because for the past few months, I want to say, we have been sort of in a meta of leashless jungling. So getting those wards on some of those buffs on each of those sides really helps you out, because now there's one factor of just knowing where the jungler started that is completely removed.
Yeah, there is something interesting about the comp that's been drafted by Aporia in particular as well. I don't know how much this consciously goes into their team building decisions, but having Nico and Caitlyn on the same team feels so good when you could just take the Caitlyn form and have all of that range to fire away with. Definitely helps you out a whole bunch, and Samek going to be taking full advantage of that in this early lane.
Yep, absolutely. Porsche trading a little bit on the top side there, just trying to assert some dominance, if you will. Curiously enough, though, we do have Lawrence taking the Ignite with the Rumble, so he is looking to heavily trade at around level 2 to 3, so I think Porsche is trying to get ahead of him in that regard by just trying to trade as much as possible at level 1. Yeah, you can see now he's just walking up.
Yeah, just going to try to keep that level advantage as long as he can and try to get Porsche outside of XP range, and pretty solid early lane here from Lawrence so far. You weren't here for it, Quacks, but we saw him struggle quite a bit in lane in game number 2 of this event. Lawrence going up against that top Rengar from X-Royal, giving over quite a few early kills, really struggling on his signature Jax pick, but now laning up against one of the best in this tournament, I would say, in Porsche. He's doing a very solid job in these first couple of waves.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, you know, I can't speak to the pain of playing against Rengar top, but I can speak to the pain of playing against Rengar as Music is here.
Yeah, not getting the auto reset he wanted there, but still going to keep Frost on the back foot,
flashing
after, getting the slow off the red buff. Frost still has access to it. Will Music be able to finish him off? If he goes for this punch, it's just going to get flashed away, but he dives in instead. Frost taken down for first blood.
Wow, I was honestly not sure if Music would go for that. There's Rovek's just flash Qs, but it completely whiffs.
You gotta respect them when they go for that, though. It's definitely a really good recipe for success on the Lux. We've seen Rovex pull off those kind of plays on the Lux Caitlyn lane in this event before, this time just barely missing the mark.
Yeah, and I mean, while Music did manage to get himself the kill, he is so low that he's just forced to immediately go for the reset. So yeah, he does have a long sword advantage here in the jungle fight, but he doesn't have flash. This is a crucial summoner spell to have if you're Vi, being able to get those flash Qs, being able to get that extra little power in any ganks you try to go for. Having that summoner spell lost could be detrimental if he's not careful.
No, but something that kill does, and that even just forcing the recall out of Frost does, which is kind of why I questioned how aggressive Music went there, is the important thing is your team knows where Frost is, they know that he's not currently a threat, and that gives you more alone time in the bot lane for Lynx and Rovex on this dominant 2v2 lane duo, and look at how much it's paying off. Over 2 waves ahead already are Lynx and Rovex here in the CS department, and they're just building up a bigger and bigger lead all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a good point. It gives Music the opportunity now to look for something on the spot side as Frost Force is moving down as well. He will be spotted on a ward, but I mean, you just don't have any prio, my friend. This Zinza has to be careful where he walks, as he knows that there could just be a angry lady with gloves around the corner. Oh.
Absolutely a flash in. Lawrence looking to chase down Porsche here, looking for the kill. Will he be able to burn him down? Porsche with no flash. He's got nowhere left to go. He will go down. Pulled back in is Lawrence. He takes one more turret shot, but he will stay alive, and he will walk away with a solo kill.
Yup, and that is the Ignite advantage there. Such a good trade coming out from Lawrence. He knew he had the kill, had to expend the flash. But overall, now with the wave pushing toward him, he's just going to be able to eat that right on time. And this is a Rumble that is sitting really good so far, 5 minutes in.
Absolutely is very happy with the position that he finds himself in here. And winning now pretty much across the board here for the side of Aporia. Samakin not at a CS advantage yet, but hasn't been able to catch this wave. Pretty close to even with Aljun as he TPs back to the wave. Music going to get found doing these grubs, though, by Porsche. It is going to have to retreat over the wall. He does have Lawrence for the backup. Samakin just TP'd to mid, so he'll be able to come after the wave is cleared as well. And Rovex even roaming up from the bottom lane. That means they have to get these grubs, because Frost is going to be happy to eat up the dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. And Samakin did just hit level 6, so that is basically telling Aojun and Porsche, yeah, we can't go for this fight. The Pot Blossom is ready and available, so there is no trying to kill this Vi. So yeah, just a trade of neutrals coming out here, but Komodo Frost is going to be seen.
Yeah, there's an aggressive step up here from Rovex. No chance of stealing that, and he'll be collapsed on instantly. Samakin arrives to the party to clean up Frost as well, but that's a 1-for-1 in kills. Rovex just stepping up a little bit too far. No chance of getting that objective.
Yup, and now with Frost Force on the respawn, that is giving Music the green light to maybe try and steal this Gromp. I'm really curious to see how close he is to level 6. If he'll get cease and desist after this camp. But I don't think he'll be able to look for anything, as we do have a Zinzao just running up.
Yeah, they're coming in for the one-on-one. Did not get the smite. The failed flash from Frost, though, will guarantee an escape for Music. And it doesn't matter if you don't have flash if the other team are not using theirs to punish you. Frost with a big miss there.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there by Frost Force, but you can see the pings in the top river just wanting to fight for this crab, but Aljun is completely walled off. It'll be a 2v3 if a fight goes off.
Yeah, very tough for Aljun to actually make that collapse there. He doesn't have the ultimate, and looking for a solo kill. Samakin will take him down, catches him unawares with the Tangle Barbs, and finishes the job.
1-2, and he manages to get the kill. Now, the question is, will he be able to shove this wave? He doesn't have a lot of mana to go for a really clean reset. This would be really good for Samakin if he manages to get this wave under the tower, but he is on a bit of a timer. It looks like he will be able to, though, as we go back to bot lane. Just more trading across the board. Lynx and Rovex still very high up in CS and experience.
Porsche going all in, looking for the kill here. Music going to be in time to back up his top laner, but will it matter? Using the cease and desist to keep him from closing the gap, and now trying to hunt him down. Flash forward from Music once again. Secures another kill for Aporia.
I love the aggression from Music in this game. He's not giving Frost Force or Porsche an inch to work with, and he is punishing every little mistake. This is what Music is best at. You will never get something for free, and he is showing that mastery of playstyle in this game.
Absolutely fantastic stuff coming out of this squad so far in game number 3. Aporia firing on all cylinders, having, I would say, their cleanest early game of the tournament so far.
Oh, yeah.
And playing up against some of those weaker seed teams that looked like their weak point, and they were so much better in these team fights, in these mid-game fights around Dragons. That's where they really made their winnings. And so far, all they've really done in the early games has been splitting off these aggressive bot lanes, now doing pretty well at winning across the map as Frost is looking to punish the bot lane, but they've got just enough distance away. They're going to be able to escape in time. Samakin looking for Aljun, not going to find him.
Shout out to Lynx's trap there on the corner. It completely stunned and caught Frost Force by surprise. He was not able to go for the Wind Becomes a Lightning engage onto Rovex, which would have most likely just burned a summoner from the Lux and halted that aggression they have been showing this entire game. But now they are just looking to continue that, walking up to the wave despite a health deficit.
Yeah. very bold stuff here, and seems like they're very justified in doing so. Link's still finding himself very low, though. Going to have to keep his wits about him, but this guy is an NACL quality bot laner, has been throughout the last year, has been playing up against some of the best, some that are even in the LCS now, folks like Meech and Masu and Arrow and King, who aren't LCS now but have been in the past. Those were his opponents for the last year. And now, finding himself dropped back down to this Tier 3 level, he is going to be looking to make it back up to Tier 2 as quickly as he can, and so far, having a set of very solid performances with Aporia.
Yeah, and I mean, Lynx just as a player hasn't played since July. This is really his first Combine on record since the middle of last year, so I think that there was some unrusting questions as far as the NACLQs were concerned, but he is showing that he still has it. Those first 2 games are out of the way, and now Lynx is completely unlocked.
Doing a very solid job keeping control in that bottom lane, keeping the wave shoved in. His lead, not looking too huge right now, but he does have about a wave and a half, 2 waves to farm on up. They're going to try to deny those to him as Frost is hovering around for the dive. Music on the other side of the map. Samikin not going to have TP available quite yet, and things are getting very dangerous. Lynx commits the recall, and that means Rovex is all alone. 1 versus 3, an easy kill going on over to Forsen.
Yup, Forsen just going to be gifted that kill from Frost Forest, giving them a little bit of compensation for their troubles in the lane phase. Just getting poked out relentlessly for the past like 11 to 10 minutes is nice for him to get some of that. But oh my god, Lynx face checking.
Ooh. Big punish there from Frost. Chunks Lynx down, and still alone time with the tower. That's going to actually end up giving a ton of CS lead back over towards Forsen. He's going to pretty much equalize with Lynx. Very, very good stuff from the Lotus bot laner, given that he was so far behind early on in the game. Nobody available to help out this time.
Yup, and now Youmuu's Ghostblade complete for this Aphelios. This is something we've seen a lot in the new season, where just these ADCs are constantly indexing into those lethality builds. Those are what are really popular down in the bot lane recently. And Aphelios going to pack an extra wall up in these upcoming fights that he'll be a part of.
Absolutely. Going for the Youmuu's. I do like these kind of new lethality builds on Aphelios. The fact that lethality is just better now, given that it's back to being flat armor pen. It doesn't even really need its own name anymore. You could just call it flat armor pen. And then Aphelios already has lethality in his kit, given that's one of the stats you can level up. So you could just index deeper into lethality and actually end up with some really high damage early in the game.
Yeah, but Gordo, you're missing one crucial thing is, hold on, we got a fight coming up.
Oh, the stun coming in from Aojun, and no chance of escape here for Lawrence. He's not even going to waste the flash.
Yeah, doesn't even commit the flash. He knows he's completely dead, and if he did, then Porsche would just follow up immediately. So, honestly, good on Lawrence to not commit that, but nonetheless, that is a kill going over to Porsche. And now, with the Void, Touch of the Void stacks that he has available, is going to take maybe 2 to 3 plates on this top lane.
Pretty good stuff here. All right, Ghost being popped as they're looking
to
to punish
back.
Lynx. Teleport from behind. Lynx and Rovex are pinched. Nowhere left to go. Lynx will drop first. Rovex trying to flash to safety, but Aojun will chase him down the whole way and make it 2 kills to Lotus.
Yup, absolutely. Now 3-0. The patience coming out from Lotus, and specifically Forsen and Mixture, is paying off. Frost Forest looking to try and get some punish onto Samikin, but is going to lose like half his health in return.
Flash over there for Porsche to get himself in range for the Umbral Dash over the wall. Will be able to get to safety, but pushed back and flashless once again. No items complete yet here on the Aatrox, and having himself a rough early game so far. This Rift Herald going to be spawning in just about 10 seconds, and it looks like full control of that area of the map will belong to Aporia.
Yeah, one player that I feel like has been pretty idle over the past 5 to 7 minutes has been Music. He was super aggressive. We praised how aggressive he was being in this early game, but since that statement, it feels like he has just been content with farming these waves. You can see he's accrued a small little CS lead over Frost Forest, but hasn't really been on the map recently, and I think that Lotus have really been taking advantage of that sort of idleness coming from the Vi.
Absolutely has. Music Been using that flash on cooldown and securing kills with it, but it's not the biggest threat. When he can't find somebody up too far, find a good excuse to really be able to punish it. They should be able to secure themselves the Rift Herald here, though, and this might just be that last bit of oof that they need to look for first turret.
Yup, absolutely. And now he's looking to go aggressive. The Rumble just wants to look for trades.
You know, all in here. There's going to be the Destiny channel by Twisted Fate coming down to the bottom lane as they are able to secure first turret for Lotus, and Samakin up way too far. Will be taken down. Shutdown gold goes over to Frost. Meanwhile, Music going to throw down the Rift Herald here on the top side. That leaves Porsche fully exposed. He'll be going down here before too long, making it a 1-for-1 cross map. But look at Lynx, he's so low! Off the back of one big hit from Geiger. Not Geiger, that's Forsen. He's getting me with a little bit of a mix-up on the name there. But Geiger playing for a different team this tournament.
Yep, absolutely. And it looks like they are just going to trade these tier 2 turrets. But Aojun says, not on my watch.
Coming in for the attempted interrupt, but the turret's already down, and now he's just getting full comboed by Music. Uses the exhaust to mitigate the damage, but it's not going to last forever, and Music finishes the job as soon as he can. Frost now coming up, looking for that low health Lawrence. The attempted turnaround, there's the equalizer. Frost cooking on top of it as the teleport is channeled. Here comes Porsche trying to turn it back around, but Music, another punch to the face, another Samakin Tangle Barbs, and another kill to Aporia.
Bit of a misinput there from Lotus, as twice in a row they went in 1 by 1 and were subsequently punished for it by Aporia, who are now looking to take down this mid turret. You can see the little Void Mites are there to assist them, and finally the mid turret drops 16 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, the Void Mites are just so strong. Once you get to those higher stacks of the Void Grubs, you saw we hit 14 minutes, turret plating dropped, and so did 3 towers for Lotus. It's so effective for Aporia to be able to just roll up and take these as soon as that plating's no longer available. They do so much damage to structures.
Yup, absolutely. And now, as the dragon is spawning, you can see that some of the players in this game have started to hit their item spikes. In particular, we have the Rocket Belt going on to Samakin, so those ults from afar are going to be much easier to execute on. The Wombo combo in general from Aporia with the items in tow is going to be so much easier to get to and so much more deadly if you get hit by them. So Lotus has to be really careful on these upcoming team fights. You can see they're not even looking to try and get vision on this dragon. They're just giving it up.
Yep, will be an easy Cloud Dragon, will be an easy final outer turret for Aporia as they build up to about a 2,000 gold lead and have priority everywhere where they want it. Baron will be arriving in about 2.5 minutes. That'll be the next major objective, but until then, going to look to spend their winnings and set themselves up for whatever brawl is going to be coming up next, is using their resources very effectively to build up a big structure lead, a big objective lead in this early game as Aporia.
Yep, and in particular, I like that Music actually went for the Black Cleaver second. I think that this, although Lynx has been struggling in the past few minutes, I think that having this armor pen available to you by your teammate is going to give Lynx a decent amount more agency in these team fights, something that he has been missing, I feel, since he got so heavily punished in the bot lane earlier this game. That'll be nice to see.
Curious on your thoughts here, Quacks. Samakin completing an item I have not seen yet. The Crypt Bloom coming on through in the mid lane. The kind of little baby magic pen item, a little bit less than Void Staff, but still magic pen. And the AoE heal on kills, but we got a little bit of a fight first. Flash away from Lawrence. He layers down that equalizer, but no chance at escape. Porsche will claim the kill.
Yeah, I mean, he did a decent amount of damage. He tried. He committed 3 members to that bot lane, and now this gives Aporia the green light to just push down as much as they can in the mid lane. The only thing stopping them are the ADCs and a teleport committed by Aojun as well.
Escape there from Lynx. Doesn't look like there'll be any more action for a bit as they're just looking around, stealing away jungle camps. But I want to hear about that Crypt Bloom. Do you think this is good in this situation?
I think that the Crypt Bloom is good for comps that want to continue fighting. Think of it kind of like a Fiora ultimate in a way, like a little mini Fiora ultimate that doesn't last nearly as long, isn't nearly as powerful, but it is good for players that want to keep fighting, that want to keep going, that want those extended team fight plays. And I think that champion like Vi can really make do with an item like the Crypt Bloom, and so can Caitlyn, just getting constant headshots off. I am fully in support of Samakin going for this item.
Makes sense. I've heard the analysis as well that it's a little bit less pen than something like a Void Staff, but it is also cheaper than a Void Staff. So you can get onto that second item faster, be ripping your way through these Merc Treads, through that Hex Drinker that Porsche is rocking right now, and just be a little bit more effective coming into these mid-game fights. As the Baron has just spawned, and now going to potentially be some action for it here before too long. Mid-prio established for Aporia.
Yeah, a little bit of a war of attrition there briefly in the mid lane. You could see that Frost Forest was trying to sort of have a standoff with Rovex, but ultimately had to give up as the wave was just pushing into his base. And now Porsche in a 1v2 situation, the bot lane under siege.
Coming in on the flank now, Samakin going to have to be aware that this is coming, sees it on the ward as it gets cleared, and will be able to back away in time. They get some nice damage onto the bot inner turret. They force everybody from Lotus to come and deal with it, and they lose really nothing for it. It's just building themselves up an advantage piece by piece, inch by inch. As they continue to wait up, they're going to be on a potential soul point here before too long, and as long as they don't let this Aphelios hit a big spike or fight on wrong timing, they are in full control here.
Yup, and I think that with this reset, we are getting closer and closer and closer to Frost Forest completing that Sundered Sky. This is the 2-item power spike that has made Xin Zhao such a menace, not just in the competitive space, but also just in solo queue in general. A lot of Xin Zhao, it's almost like night and day. When Season 13 ended and Season 14 began, Xin Zhao became popular almost overnight. So this champion really makes do with the items as best he can, and there is a reason he has been such high priority in this new season.
Absolutely. Crescent Guard always has that kind of trait of making Xin Zhao feel invulnerable, especially up against some of those higher burst, higher range compositions, and that's definitely the case here, where he is frequently going to be at a solid distance away from stuff like the Caitlyn, the Lux, the Rumble, even the Nico in certain situations. So Frost getting a little bit caught here. Music did let that Volt Breaker expire. Is going to be able to steal the Scuttler over the wall.
Wow. Really good steal there from Music, because now with the new season, getting those post 20-minute crabs became a whole lot more useful, because now it's basically a circular Scryer's Bloom that leaves the wards at 1 to 2 HP depending on what kind it is. And look at the zone control coming out from Lynx. They're forced to go all the way around to fight this dragon.
All the way around indeed, as they are going to be trying to just force their way down mid, but the wave cleared away too fast. Frost Forest gets a little bit caught, has to throw down the Crescent Guard in order to keep himself safe. Here's the Destiny from Twisted Fate. Can he find a flank coming over the wall? Immediately he's got Music right on top of him. There's the Pop Blossom onto 3 from Samakin, and the healing auras coming across the board. Aporia find the pick they were waiting for, and they tear apart Lotus.
Samakin, so much for being called a Zoe one-trick. He has evolved beyond that. He hates being called it, and he has proven why. His Nico is just as clean. A humongous teamfight win from Aporia, and now they go on to the Baron.
Yeah, such a crucial response to the teleport in from Aljun as well. Immediately, the member you least want to be melee range with it is melee range with you. Full punish onto that mid laner. Aljun not going to be able to find a response here either, as Samakin is matching him in the side lane. Flash away, but Samakin finishes the job either way with the Tangle Barbs. That's going to be the Baron secured for Aporia, and they are off to a massive lead in game number 3.
And this is such a big buff to have for Aporia, if not for just the fact that Baron is a strong buff, but for the fact that you have a Lux plus a Rumble. We saw how effective the wave clear was with just those 2 champions using their ults on the wave, and now you have the empowered cannon minions, you have that empowered poke. There is so much pressure that can be exerted through having this buff alone, and Aporia should be looking to press as hard as they can with it active.
They should, and they are sending 3 members to the bottom side with this Baron buff. 2 members in mid. They see Porsche up in that top side, but it's just going to make it really tough for them to respond. I don't think there's any racing threat coming through from that Aatrox, and this Siege just has no good answers. 3 members in mid, 1 member in bot, both just getting overpowered in this push.
But Porsche is still in the top lane. They are literally getting broken into. They're getting robbed in broad daylight. Now he finally TPs.
Coming on around, they're going to look for the pick onto Music, but Music staying outside of range. It's going to be an equalizer thrown down a little defensively by Lawrence. Won't get too much damage, but will stop the play in its tracks.
Yeah, Porsche with a good TP there to just try and, you know, sort of patch the bleeding up a little bit. Oh.
Big damage early on onto the Melio. Flash away from Frost, who takes a big chunk from that ace in the hole. And they just resume the push right where they left off. No risk of the flank angle anymore. World Ender is down. Melio ult is down. Destiny is down. And they just cannot respond. Now just going 5 members strong in the mid lane.
Yep, and you can see the Caitlyn traps just zoning off any kind of engage that Lotus might try to go for. The Void Mites, there's so many of them!
Frost diving forward, but just getting a big chunk of damage. Has to blow the Crescent Guard immediately yet again. Samakin a little bit low on health, and Aporia don't want to get caught with their hand too far in the cookie jar. They are going to walk on out, getting 2 inhibitor turrets, no inhibitors, and just going to look to reset and spend before the Dragon Soul spawn.
Yeah, I mean, they got a bunch of objectives, like you just said, Gordo, and with that comes a lot of gold. They spend that, they get prepared for this dragon fight. With the Crescent Guard down, Frost Force essentially cannot go for any of the backliners. Rovex and Lynx should be untouched in this next fight if it does happen. And overall, it just seems like Aporia at some point in the game really just capitalized on their extra range, on the Nico ultimate in particular. For any team fighting, and just they cannot be stopped at this point. This train just keeps on chugging along.
And so many powerful items across the board getting finished off here. Seeing a nice little summary of why some of these picks have become so prioritized in the offseason here. The Sundered Sky, of course, for Music, as well as that Frozen Heart that is basically the same item it was last year, except it's like 500 gold cheaper. That thing is so good in this season. That Riftmaker up top as well for Lawrence. Love to see both the Riftmaker and the Liandry's in the same build, both giving you that percentage damage amp and just feasting off of each other.
Yup, and now with resets coming up from the top side, they're left completely alone. This will be an inhibitor now.
Make it 2.
2 inhibitors.
Yeah, just going to be ripping their way through. Here's a fight attempt, 5 members strong. Lotus going to try to make a stand here. Porsche caught out, loses a big chunk of health, and the engage just cannot be manufactured. You needed Porsche and Frost to be able to find a way to dive on in. Porsche gets stopped instantly, and they just walk away. 2 inhibitors richer, and soon to be the Dragon Soul as well.
Yep, no Maw active here for Porsche either, so he is just going to get taken down the next time he gets caught.
TP in, looking for Samakin, but Aujun going to have his gold card blocked. There's going to be a big ultimate from the Aphelios, but the dive in from Samakin will not stop. Solos out the opposing bot laner. The dive on Aujun will get the second carry for Music. Porsche has assassinated the support on the back line, but who cares about the support? The whole game has just been won by Aporia. They're going to move into the base. There's GG's in the chat. Aporia have qualified for the next stage of the Open Qualifier.
3-0 Aporia with a statement game. A few hiccups here and there, but otherwise clean across the board. The aggression from Music is what started it all, and they will qualify for the top 16.
Beautiful stuff here from Aporia. They have their eyes set higher than this for certain, but it is definitely going to be a load off your shoulders to know you will be coming back here next week. You will be playing the next games, and that has got to feel very good for these players. We can check on out some of the post-game stats here. Just a really monstrous performance there from Samakin on the Nico, and I do have to give huge props to Music on the Vi as well. Constantly going aggressive, constantly making plays, but never giving up the death.
Yeah, and I mean, Lynx as well was doing so good in the early game, then had a little bit of a divot there because he was being pressured so heavily by Frost Force, but managed to come back, managed to, make use of the Caitlyn traps as zoning tools, regardless of all of that pressure being exerted onto him earlier in the game. Overall, Aporia, just all around, really good game. And like you said, Gordo, they have their eyes set on a much bigger prize than just top 16. And if they play like this, if they continue this rhythm, they can make it much further than top 16, I think.
Yeah, looking forward, hoping we'll get to continue to cover Aporia on their journey here. But that's going to do it for game number 3. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.